While housing in the Elder Scrolls Online is primarily a creative outlet, there are plenty of reasons to collect houses for convenience and utility. Over the last few years, I've been evaluating every home in the game to identify the houses that I think every player should own. Today, I'll share my list of the top 6 highest utility homes in ESO. Even if you're not a housing enthusiast, this video will provide a short list of homes that you will probably want to pick up to help save you time and hassle while you explore Tamriel. Over the last 2 years, we've seen dozens of new homes added to the game, along with new game systems in the Necrom and Gold Road chapters, and I've updated my rankings to account for all of those changes, as well as incorporating your feedback from the last video covering ESO housing. For anyone new around here, I originally set out to answer 2 questions. Why own a home in ESO if you're not an interior decorator? And which house should you buy? Since housing is mainly cosmetic, the easy answer is still whichever one you like best. But homes in ESO do provide some utility. So beyond providing that creative outlet and enabling storage expansion, there are additional benefits in the form of quick travel and convenience. You can teleport to the front door of any home you own from anywhere in the game other than Cyrodiil or the Imperial City, of course, which means that you have a quick, free option to get back to crafting stations, merchants, daily quest hubs, and more. In order to rank each home's utility, I rated their proximity to those key city services and then assigned bonus points for storage space as well as nearby guild traders. This gave me an overall utility rating for each home that I've refined over time. So, here are my top picks for each category of home in ESO. Despite 2 very nice inn rooms in the form of Journey's Inn Lodgings in Necrom and Rosewine Retreat in the West Weald, the Sugar Bowl Suite in Rimmen remains my top inn room. Rimmen is the chapter hub of the Elsewhere expansion and is located in a nicely laid out city that has a few killer features. First of all, the Sugar Bowl Suite remains the only inn room in the game with an exterior facing front door. This means it is the only inn room in the game where quick traveling to the outside of it will put you within steps of a Wayshrine without having to go through any additional loading screens. Rimmen also benefits from the fact that it was the last chapter hub city added to ESO that wasn't broken up into multiple sections with loading screens between them. Ever since Greymoor, cities in ESO have been split up into 2 or 3 different microzones, and that can result in loading screens when switching between them. Once you're in Rimmen, you can quickly visit all of the major city amenities of that chapter hub, get your daily writs done, and get back to adventuring without needing to wait for any extra loading screens. The Rimmen crafting area remains one of the better ones in the game with a very satisfying loop and plenty of long sightlines that make navigation easier. The Stablemaster, Battlemaster, and Impresario are all conveniently located just outside the front gate of the city, and the bank, while indoors, does load fairly quickly. Best of all, you can claim inn rooms for free by completing the Room to Spare quest, so this one won't set you back a thing. The main downside of inn rooms are, of course, the furnishing limits. Even with ESO Plus, the Sugar Bowl Suite doesn't sport enough furnishing slots to fit all of the convenience furnishings you'd probably like to have on hand. There are only 3 apartments in ESO, all added at the introduction of housing with no new apartments since. Apartments have the same number of collectible and furnishing slots as inn rooms, so they aren't much more useful when it comes to outfitting them with convenience furnishings, but all 3 are in very convenient locations. The Flaming Nyx Deluxe Garret of Mournhold takes the top spot for me though, thanks to the fact that it's in one of the original capital cities and relatively close to the Mournhold crafting area. This apartment has always been in my top 5 overall picks, and its value only continues to increase as ESO improves the rewards from daily quests that can only be picked up in the original capitals of Mournhold, Wayrest, and Eldenroot, which host the Undaunted Enclaves, Mages Guild Dailies, and the Fighters Guild Dailies. Now, as the capital of the Ebonheart Pact, Mournhold is also one of the busiest trading hubs in the game, and you will probably be visiting regularly to buy items from those guild traders. The Mournhold crafting area in Rit Turnin isn't quite as optimized as newer cities, but if you prefer to keep all your business in one spot, it is sufficient. Regardless of your daily routine, I always recommend picking up the Flaming Nyx since it is so cheap, and it can be pretty fun to decorate with that slightly more generous furnishing limit without being overwhelming like some of the larger homes in ESO. Alright, I'm sure this next one comes as no surprise, but once again, Snugpod of Eldenroot is my choice for the best small home in ESO. And it also comes in as my number 1 overall pick. You simply cannot beat that location in the heart of a base game capital city. Snugpod is the closest home to a Stablemaster as well as an Undaunted Enclave, and unlike the Flaming Nyx Deluxe Garret, it does have an exterior door. The Eldenroot Wayshrine, Outlaw's Den, and Master Rit Turnin are also extremely convenient, just a few steps away. Elden Root has remained an important trading hub as the capital of the Aldmeri Dominion, and also sports all of the amenities that come with a capital city. Snugpod was already a must-buy in my opinion, but once again, the ever-increasing value of the Undaunted, Mages Guild, and Fighters Guild daily quests only serves to further boost the value of homes in the OG capital cities. Snugpod is a small home that you can't get for free, but at 45k, it's very affordable. If you're an ESO Plus subscriber, it has enough furnishing slots to fit all of the housing storage chests, all of the service NPCs, and probably just enough room for crafting stations and training dummies. This might be the cheapest home you could theoretically turn into a well-outfitted guild hall. I'd probably go with something a little bit larger though. Now, while I don't love the aesthetic, it is tough to argue that the Sleek Creek house isn't the best medium home in ESO. Raqqa is a solid base game city for crafting and daily writs, with a conveniently located banker and wayshrine. But the key feature here is the immediate access to an outlaw's den with no patrolling guards between your front door and the fence NPC. I originally overlooked Sleek Creek, but if you're a Khajiit looking to lead a life of larceny, this one is a must-buy. At 335,000 gold, it's going to set you back a bit, but it's still a great pick if you need something with a little bit more space than smaller homes. All of these factors together contribute to its continuing popularity with the player base, and despite its less prestigious nature as a city, Raqqa also remains a key trading hub. If you do not have access to ESO Plus, you will need a medium home to have enough furnishing slots to place all of the service NPCs and housing storage chests, making Sleek Creek a great choice for you. Next up, in order to complete your collection of homes in the original capital cities, you'll want to pick this one up. The Gardener House in Wayrest is my pick for best overall large home when it comes to utility and convenience. Wayrest features all of the same amenities as Mournhold and Elden Root, just with a more traditional medieval fantasy aesthetic. The Gardener House gets extra points for its extremely close proximity to the Master Writ Turn-In and the Wayrest Bank. It is an expensive house, coming in at just over 1 million gold, but it is the only home you can buy in Wayrest, and it provides access to all of the standard services of an Alliance capital, as well as the 7 guild traders calling Wayrest home. If you can afford it, this is probably the highest utility large home you can buy, and it's the only way to unlock free quick travel into the capital of the Daggerfall Covenant. You'll also benefit from more generous furnishing limits, making it much easier to squeeze in all of your fancy furnishings, crafting stations, training dummies, and more. If you've only got enough cash for one large home, this is a great one to pick up. Next, it's time to talk about the largest homes in ESO. There are only 6 manors that you can acquire without spending crowns, and one of them can be had for free. Luckily, it's also the one with the most utility. I'm talking about the Hall of the Lunar Champion, of course. Now, if you're curious about how to get this house for free, be sure to check out my video tutorial on how to acquire free homes in ESO next. The Hall of the Lunar Champion benefits from all of the same perks as the Sugar Bowl Suite, since it is also located in Rimmen. It does lose a few points since its entrance isn't quite as conveniently located as the inn rooms, but it is close enough to those city services that it still provides far more convenience than the other manor homes that you can acquire for gold. But the Hall of the Lunar Champion gets bonus points for all of that extra storage. Given that it's free, there's really no reason not to pick it up. I also love how it has separate wings that you can unlock and decorate separately. Now, just like the Sugar Bowl Suite, you will need to own the Elsewhere expansion to get this home. But at this point, if you don't own Elsewhere, you probably should pick it up. Northern Elsewhere and the Season of the Dragon storyline remain some of my favorites in ESO, with so many beautiful vistas, cool characters, and memorable encounters. Longtime viewers out there will know that I'm not a huge fan of the premium homes in ESO. I would never recommend dropping $40 or more to buy a digital house. But if you happen to be sitting on a big pile of crowns from your ESO Plus sub, and you're curious about which premium home offers the most utility, there's a pretty easy answer. Most of the premium homes are tucked away in scenic locations and offer little to no utility beyond their interior furnishings. On the other hand, High Hollow Hold of Gonfalon Bay is leagues more useful. I never picked it up because that utility is sort of redundant if you already own the High Inn Room and the Hall of the Lunar Champion for that extra storage space, but if you want a manor home that's located in the heart of a major city with a quality crafting hub and easy access to the Tales of Tribute daily quest giver to boot, well, High Hollow Hold is the way to go. I don't love how much the interior of this home is broken up, but I have seen some pretty creative interiors and the courtyard is very nice as well. At the end of the day though, this home doesn't really offer anything utility-wise that you can't find elsewhere, so there's no need to spend your crowns. Now with Gold Road, we actually got 2 new homes. Rosewine Retreat and Maryvine Estate. They are the newest homes to ESO at the time of recording, and they both have their merits. The Rosewine Retreat Inn Room narrowly missed unseating Sugar Bowl Suite as my top pick for an inn room, thanks to the fact that Skingrad currently has the most efficient crafting hub. It's really only held back by the lack of an exterior-facing door and the placement of the Stablemaster, Battlemaster, and Impresario outside of Skingrad's city gates. If those things aren't that important to you though, Rosewine Retreat quickly overtakes Sugar Bowl in my opinion. Even with that second soft load to get outside the inn, it's still a quicker trip to the Wayshrine, bank, and crafting stations than most other homes in the game. Plus, you're probably going to be grinding out Westfield dailies to get scripts for a while anyway. I absolutely recommend grabbing Rosewine Retreat before diving into Gold Road content to make your life much easier. Maryvine Estate is almost the exact opposite, a spectacular home for decorators with almost no utility, thanks to its location in the Westfield countryside. If you have the gold, this is definitely worth picking up to get your Colovian windmill furnishing that's included, and I think this would make an excellent guild hall despite the fact that it's only a large home, but it's not really one to pick up if you don't care about furnishing a home for the aesthetics. Putting this video together made me start thinking about what would make the perfect house in ESO. And I do wish we would see another home like the Hall of the Lunar Champion, a manor-sized home that we could unlock and collect via achievements, especially if it was in the heart of Skingrad. That would be my perfect house. I love the aesthetic of the Westfield, and even if that home ended up being a little bit smaller square footage-wise, having an exterior-facing front door near that new crafting hub would make it the best home for me. I'd also settle for a system where we just unlock a few more furnishing slots for the inn room after completing the respective zone story. One final note, as there is a yearly event in ESO where home gold prices are discounted by 10%. If you've been wanting to pick up any of the homes on this list that cost gold, or another house in ESO that can be purchased for gold, you might want to consider waiting for the Zeal of Zenithar event, as during that event all homes in ESO are discounted in price. This isn't a huge savings on the smaller homes, but it could save you hundreds of thousands of gold on some of the larger ones. Zeal of Zenithar typically occurs in the summer, and if you're watching this video the day it releases, it's actually going on right now. If you're watching in the future, keep an eye out for the next Zeal of Zenithar. If you're still here, thank you for sticking around to the end of the video. You can find a link to my full ratings, evaluation criteria, and additional details on each home in the description down below. You can even create a copy of that spreadsheet and add or remove metrics to create a ranking sheet tailored to what's important to you. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank everyone out there who's watched, subscribed, or shared my videos. I wouldn't be here today without you. An extra thank you to my patrons as well. If you'd like to support the channel more directly and get your name in the credits, feel free to check out the Patreon linked on screen now. So there it is, my list of the best homes in the Elder Scrolls Online in 2024. That's going to do it for me today. I'll see you all for the next one. Bye for now, everybody.